And so the anticipation builds, and rightfully so. With more than from Washington, our Vladimir Duthiers is just outside the museum with the president of the National Urban League, Marc Morial. Vlad?
Josh, thank you. Marc, it's so good to have you to talk about this. Good to see you again. How exciting is this for you? Let me just start out by asking that. How exciting is it to see this museum finally taking flight?
On a personal level, I know this has taken so much time, so much work, so much energy, so much effort, so much money, but really a determination over years to create this structure. And what I love about it is it's in a prominent location. It's a beautiful building. And I believe that with Lonnie Bunch's hand, it will have what I call historical and cultural integrity. This is not Disney, this is not Hollywood, this is authentic, it's true, it's a real representation of important history of black people in this nation.
You know, when you hear about some of the struggles of getting this museum off the ground, I mean, it goes back, I don't know if our viewers are aware of this, goes back to almost 100 years. 1915, a group of black former Union soldiers gathered in Washington, D.C., and they sort of sent a letter out there saying that they wanted some kind of a memorial for the African-American soldiers who fought in the Civil War, and it finally is happening 100 years from now. Lonnie Bunch, the challenges that he's had to get this thing off the ground, but there was no other person for it.
You know, Lonnie's kept a powerful, positive spirit. He's been a happy warrior. He's been a true, if you will, fighter, because he's fought the good fight. And now he's finished this course, and now a new chapter is really open with this museum. So what I hope is that people from all backgrounds, races, colors, creeds, religions, from all over, not only the United States and the world, will come to this facility. But my real hope is that this will be a place for children. It'll be a place for young people to learn what they don't know, to understand the challenges and the triumphs, to know about the human dynamic and element which has brought about this change, and that the contributions have been across the board. They've been in business, they've been in politics, they've been in civil rights, they've been in the arts, they've been in culture. The contributions of African Americans have not been singular, they've been dynamic, and they've helped to shape who we are as an American nation. So what this is about, it's about 21st century America, and really leaning forward, paying forward, and thinking forward while learning the past.
One of the things that I find fascinating and I think is wonderful on so many levels is this idea that it's not just a museum of African American people, even though that's what it's called. It's a museum of Americans. And one of the things in talking to some of the curators is a lot of the artifacts that are in this building come from white Americans, and just going back to this concept of our shared history.
So it's so important for people to recognize that the struggle for freedom back to the time of abolition always had important white allies, always had the struggle for justice, for freedom, for a more open America was always multidimensional, multidynamic. It was blacks and whites and others working on that. But very importantly, the pain, the physical pain, the emotional pain, the sense of denial that American slavery and American segregation meted out was felt deeply by African Americans. That pain may have been shared by many whites, but that deep, deep pain, however, the alliances needed to continue to heal this nation and move this nation forward are alliances that have to be about all people, because the end is justice. The end is, I think, Vlad, a multicultural democracy that creates economic opportunity and quality of life for everyone. We should keep that goal in mind, and I think this is about that goal, but it's about learning history, some of it uncovered, some of it has been covered up, some of it has not been completely told, so this is a must-visit place for all Americans.
For all Americans. One of the most sacred exhibits that we haven't been able to see yet is the coffin of young Emmett Till. And most Americans by now are familiar with Emmett's tragic, horrific story. And so you have this sort of, like I said, it's almost sort of a sacramental exhibit.
Emmett was a 14-year-old boy visiting relatives in the South. He was a boy from Chicago who went down to Mississippi and was deeply and brutally beaten for whistling at a white woman. Now, why it's important is because Emmett Till, for that generation, catalyzed a lot of the movement. It demonstrated the horror of Southern brutality towards African Americans. And I think we've got to think about the context of how, in the modern times, in our era, how Trayvon Martin's death has catalyzed a new awareness that while we've come a great distance, the challenges that we face, the need for reform is so critical at this juncture.
And on the flip side of that, Marc, you have an amazing exhibit, which is one of the fighter jets or fighter planes used by the Tuskegee Airmen. And again, just a fascinating story. You know, some people know about it. We hope a lot of people know about it. But these young African-American men recruited from Tuskegee University and others and became World War II heroes.
And look, heroes who flew under the flag. When they came back to the United States, they faced barriers. But the reason why that's important is that this museum is about both tragedy and triumph.
Right.
This museum is going to tell the story of both pain and, I think, joy. This museum is going to, I think, give it, a treatment and, if you will, a fabric that we've not seen in any other cultural institution in America. So, you know, congratulations to everyone who's been a part of this. I can't wait to take my walk around. I can't wait to take my kids in here.
You will be here
and
for the opening?
all kids in America have a chance to see
For sure, for certain. You're going to be here when President Obama opens the museum up in about 2 weeks.
I'm going to try to get the very best seat they'll let me have.
All right.
I want to be right up front.
Marc Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League. We thank you as always for being with us. Appreciate it.
Always.
Josh, over to you.
All right, save me a seat there as well, and maybe one for you too, Vlad, if you're not already living inside somewhere. Again, Vladimir Duthiers and Marc Morial with us today as we get our first look at a new American treasure.